Levarie, Neve Yaakov. And then I was introduced to Rabbi Lopian. And it was a big, big zchut. A very, very big zchut. His Mesirut Nefesh. Mesirut Nefesh of Rabbi Lopian. You cannot compare it to anyone else. I remember the nights, days and nights. True story. The Mesirut Nefesh, the heart and the soul that he puts into every single guy in the yeshiva. Primary source. He used to put his heart and soul, both mentally, psychologically, physically, financially. Ad kedei kach, to the extent that he didn't even have doors on his house. Inside his house, he had a front door, he had the door to his bedroom, and the rest of his house, he didn't have any doors, because he couldn't afford it. Because he was giving his money out to new type of guys. I was an aid to that. You know what? I'm just going to leave it over there. Because, Bezrat Hashem, we have the zchut of having Rabbi Lopian over here. Everyone, each and every one of you. The Rabbeinu Shalom gave you 2 ears and 1 mouth. There's a reason for that. Like sheep, more than to talk. Gentlemen, you have the opportunity of having Rabbi Lopian over here. He's going to give us words of wisdom. I don't even know how I have the zchut to stand here even before Rabbi Lopian and to give an introduction, this very small introduction. But gentlemen, his mamash and Talmud Chacham is a person with such wisdom. He's helped thousands of kids in all areas of life, family matters, psychological issues. And I remember the days I was in his house. He's up till 4 in the morning. I remember going to his house with the boys. I don't know how he didn't even sleep. He slept 2-3 hours a day. He was up already in the morning, preparing himself for the guys and helping out and so on and so forth. His mind was focused on turning children into B'nai Torah so they can go to Shmutz La'aretz and they can continue with their growth. They continue getting close to the Rabbeinu Shalom in that disgusting world that we live in society. Because as you know, when you go back to America, you fall. Rabbi Lopian used to give those foundations to those young individuals. And now they're back in America. Some of them are here in Yeshiva learning. Some of them are in Kailo. Some of them are in America working. But they're holding their ground, they're holding their faith up in America. And they continue growing and growing and growing spiritually. Building families, bringing children into the world, and then passing on Torah, mitzvahs, milas chasadim to their children. Gentlemen, put your phones away, please. Everyone, put your phones away, put it on silence. And please give your undivided attention to my mashgiach, Rabbi Lopian.
We want Rabbi Vanin, when he said ladies and gentlemen, he was talking to your heads, not to your physical. Okay. Before I get down and dirty, I want to ask you guys a shayla. What would happen if you got in my mind, this text message that you tomorrow morning, Mashiach's coming. What would be Mashiach's coming? Eliyahu Novi is going to come out of Harav, etc., whatever Chazal will tell us how Mashiach's going to look like. what would be your initial reaction? What would be your reaction? What would you do tonight?
Pray. Learn all day.
I wouldn't believe it.
First good answer. He's the only one that's speaking Emes. Yeah, okay. Good. So I hear from different people. Now, let me ask you a different question. All you guys have iPhones. Would you go to people's shiur with your iPhone? With all the porn in it? No. Why not? What's wrong? Okay. Do you believe that?
Yes.
Oh, you type of believe it?
Always.
Okay.
It's just how to
Okay. Madrega? Does anybody know what we're here for in this world?
to enjoy Hashem's presence.
Enlighten the world.
Okay. Do you really believe it? I mean, you're telling me everybody in this room believes that where they're heading and what they're doing is not really what the Rebbeinu Shloim wants, including myself. Agree or don't agree?
Agree.
So we do understand that we're here for 70, 80, 90 years, and there's a bigger picture than what sees to the eye today. Agree? Everybody believes, and everybody wants that if Mashiach would be here, if you get a text, Mashiach's coming tomorrow, every iPhone will be thrown into the garbage. Agree?
Yes.
Strike one.
Disagree.
Why?
Because I don't think that Mashiach is a switch that just turns people into a saint or you know their desire to get rid of their phone disappears.
Good question. Good. Let me ask you a different question. You're running around wild, having parties every night. You meet up with a girl, you marry her. She tells you Thursday night you're not going out. You're staying home. What happened?
Divorce papers?
Okay. Okay. But in the big picture, that's not the reason why you're staying home. That's not on your mind when you're happily in a marriage and a relationship, divorce papers.
No, it's not.
Right, okay. So in reality, why are you staying home?
Because it's a sacrifice to.
It's a sacrifice because what?
Because I love her.
And you see the bigger picture. When Mashiach comes, there's going to be such a clarity that it's not that you change overnight, you become automatically. Because it's so clear to you, the picture, that there's nothing else to talk about. It's like getting married. The picture is clear, and giving up. But you know what? The price is bigger, and it's more enjoyable to have a good, beautiful marriage. Right? So therefore, I'm willing to give up my Thursday nights, and I'm willing to give up my Saturday nights, and I'm willing to give up a lot to keep this marriage together. What's that? What suddenly happened to you? Something changed in you? You suddenly became a nice, timid little boy, whipped to shape because of this female? No. It's a clarity of a relationship that has a long term. This is for the next 50, 60, 70 years. So therefore you understand there's a bigger picture.
No, but the desire to go out Thursday night is still going to be there.
100%, we're not arguing about that.
You're saying I just won't do it for the sake
You won't
of
do it because you have a certain clarity. Nobody's coming here to turn around tonight and say we're suddenly changing overnight. We're not changing overnight. We're here to get a clarity that when it's so clear to you, the picture, there is no other way. Now, I'd love to go down a one-way street the other way. Just for the shtick. But it's not happening. I'll reverse backwards quicker. Why not? Because it's clear to you. Do you have a bechira, a choice to jump off the roof? Yeah. Are you going to do it? No. Well, it depends what you're smoking. Right, now. But in the big picture, you're not going to do it. Why? Because it's clear to you what the answer is. That is what happens when Mashiach comes. That's what happens when we sit and learn. We get a clarity that gives us the picture so clear that there is no other choice. I'm standing at the top of the building, I'm not jumping, even though I could jump. And I'd love to jump, because I want that freedom, right? We're all going to bungee jumping, right? We love that. The freedom and just letting go. But it's not happening. Let me start off from the beginning of Bereshis. Light, we all know light being the closest to Avraham Avinu. He was Meshamashim, he looked after him, he went with him from place to place. He was his Talmid Muvak, his closest disciple. Comes along Lot, and his shepherds got into a fight with Avram's shepherds, and Avraham Avinu turned around and said, it's time to split the partnership, right? You open your LLC and I'll open my LLC, right? But we got to change. We got to split partnerships. So wherever you go, I'll go the other way. Lopian from. Lot picks up his eyes and he sees this beautiful land called Stoim. Stoim in those days was like I don't know how you compare it to the village 30 years ago. I don't know, where would you say today? Lakewood. No. I'm saying, where would you say Stoim? I don't know, Vegas, I don't know, California.
Vegas.
Tel Aviv.
Tel Aviv. Tel Aviv is a very good market.
Texas.
Depends where. The Kitzur, and he looks out and he sees there's a beautiful properties, the beautiful houses, big houses with swimming pools in the back, the whole 9 yards. And he says, you know what? I'm going to go there. What does Rashi say? Rashi says, the pasuk. Vayaloit. He decided, Vayisa Lot decided, you know what? I'm going to Vegas. Vayisa Lot Mikedem. He went eastwards. Mikedem is a play on words, and Rashi says, Mikadmoinoi shel olam. What does Mikadmoinoi shel olam mean? Kadmoina means ancient, from the original one, from the Rebbeinu Shalom. He separated himself from the Rebbeinu Shalom. He said, "Ef Shalom Avram, I don't want Avram, v'lo b'lekovenant is God." You're talking about a man who lived with Avram Avinu, saw Avram Avinu jump into a fire, come out alive. You're talking about he was there by every nisayon, basically, of Avram Avinu, most of them. He saw Avram Avinu become the melech and the most honored man. And here he turns around and says, no, I'm moving to Vegas. And Rashi says, what does it mean moving to Vegas? He basically said, I don't need not the Rebbeinu Shalom, not Avram Avinu. What happened over here? And then it says that the Rebbeinu Shalom appeared to Avram Acharei pored miloit. After he separated himself from light, that's when the Rebbeinu Shalom came to appear to Avraham Avinu. And Rashi tells us that all the time he was with light, the Rebbeinu Shalom couldn't appear to him because he was a Rasha. Why was he a Rasha? What suddenly changed in lights? Light had such a clarity of what the big picture is. You're standing next to Avraham Avinu, and then suddenly he just like changes. What happened? I use this as an introduction to understanding what today's youth go through. I'm not even sure where to start from. But let me tell you a story that happened with my grandfather during between the First World War and the Second World War. He went to the Chavetz Chaim for Shabbos. And the Chavetz Chaim started talking to him and telling him that the First World War was a terrible sorrow for Klal Yisrael. Jewish blood spilt like water. But there's going to come a time, in a few years' time, where the rivers of Europe are going to be flowing with Jewish blood. Millions are going to be killed. And he started telling him exactly what the Holocaust is going to be. And then he said, Klal Yisrael are going to have a few years of peace and quiet. And then there's going to become a third Holocaust, which is called Milchemes Goy Umogog, the last fight before Mashiach comes. He says there's going to be more blood spilled than the Holocaust of 1940. But he said there's one difference. Don't get nervous. In 1940 and 1918, there was a physical. It's going to be a spiritual Holocaust. And we are now living through it. And there's more neshamas that have been lost to Klal Yisrael than Hitler was Matzliach. The internet and all its tumah and all its impurities that we live in have taken more neshamas of Klal Yisrael than Hitler managed to get rid of. And my Zayda used to say a moshel. This moshel is very... We just went through this moshel. If anybody remembers the famous game that started at 5 o'clock on the first day of Hanukkah, right? When Milchemes Yavon, where the Yavonim were winning, because by Hadlokas Ner we were Mekayim Ache Yichle Regel Min Hashuk. The regel, the football, and there was a game going on. And the Zayda used to say a moshel, if there's a team that's losing, in the last 10 minutes, they throw in the extra strength. They suddenly find koichos that they never knew they had. To just make sure either we're going to end up equal or we're going to get another goal. He says before Mashiach comes, the Satan doesn't want us to win. And he's going to fight us to the bitter end. And the Satan uses one tool which will keep back Moshiach and won't make us be fitting to see Moshiach. And it's called the internet. And it's called schmutz. And it's called pornography. And it's called Shmiras Einayim. And it's called Shmiras Hadibur. And it's called Shmiras Habris. And the Satan put all his koiches, because he was losing the war. Suddenly after the war, there's never been so much Torah in Klal Yisrael in the last 2,000 years of Golos like there is today. Never. There's a yeshiva for every niche in the game. For whatever you are, whoever you are, there's a yeshiva for them. And there's a chance to learn. Even for the what's it called, you can go to YU. There's a yeshiva for everybody. And the Torah is unbelievable, the amount of shiurim that you can get online. And with Art Scroll today, you can be an Amoritz and finish Shas. And stay in Amoritz. But at the end of the day, there's so much. In the old days, you have to drive to the office for an hour. You can put in an hour of learning, just listen to shiurim. The Rebbe Shalom pushed so much Torah onto our generation. And yet, the Sultan's not fighting us in the yeshivas. Go to yeshiva, no problem. We have it easy. We have beautiful apartments. We have beautiful dormitories. We even have showers that the water's coming out from the walls. Just like in America where you have these showers. In Israel we also have it. It doesn't happen to be specially done. It happens to be those leaks. But it's coming out from the walls. But in the big picture, the Rebbe Shalom gave us such comfort in order to make us learn. And he made it so easy for us. And yet, we are so far. Because there's one thing that the Sultan knows that's going to stop us from bringing Mashiach, and that's going to stop us from being connected to the Ribono Shel Olam. There's a famous Rabbeinu Yoina. Rabbeinu Yoina talks about who is called the Rasha and who is called the Tzaddik. Vada, and you should know, Ki nefesh harasha, the soul of a Rasha, asher kol ta'avoso, his whole want and lust is lecheftzei aguf, is for bodily pleasures. V'nifredes ta'avosa ma'avodas habayra, and he's separated. He might be crossing off the boxes. Did I come to first Seder? Did I make it to davening today? Did I make second Seder? It looks good on my resume. I'll get some more credits. Beautiful. Sounds great. But where is his focus and what does he want in life? His want and his focus and his lust, his taiva, is l'cheftzei aguf, for bodily pleasure. And he's totally separated from pleasure in the avodas of the Ribono Shel Olam. And he goes on to say what will happen. We're not going into that now. But you see from here, my Zaydi used to say, it doesn't say here he was a Machal Shabbos. It doesn't say here he didn't fast on Yom Kippur. It doesn't say here he was messing around with a girl. It says one thing. What's called a Rasha? When your focus is on bodily pleasure. Why? Why? I would tell you, you ask me, if I would ask all you guys straight away, what's called a Rasha, what's called a Tzaddik, how many mitzvahs you do, how many averos you don't do, how many averos you do. Like, you think you come to Rosh Hashanah, Mora Esther taught us that there's a scale. And if I have more mitzvahs, so I'm a tzaddik. And if I have more less, that's what Mora Esther told me when I was 4 years old, and nothing changed since then. But it's not true. Rabbeinu Yoina says differently. Rosh and tzaddik has nothing to do with how much you do. It's got to do where your focus is. On what? On bodily pleasure. What happened over here? What changed? Now let me tell you something. Has anybody in this room ever learned the Seder Tishonim? Great. First page, What did we come down in this world for?
To enjoy God.
Great. We came down on this world to enjoy. Enjoyment. The neshama that we have within us, that neshama that keeps us going, that neshama that every so often wakes up and gives us a guilty conscience, that neshama that every so often tickles us and tells us we're a bunch of losers, look what we're holding, look what we're doing. We're not even happy with what we're doing. How many of us wake up in the morning not even wanting to face the day because we don't feel accomplishment? Why is that? Because the neshama wants enjoyment. That's the olam hatainu is enjoying bas in the Rebbeinu Shalom's. What do you think olam haba Gan Eden is? It's enjoyment. But we were put into a body that also wants to enjoy. And that's your bechira. That's your choice. And that's why if I ask you, what is the most important, not important, what would you say is the midah that we all, if I'd ask you what's the most important that could be one in life, what would you say? I'm not talking about making money, I'm not making money, I'm talking about what controls you.
Validation from
That's afterwards.
girls.
So enjoyment.
Your Yetzer Hara.
No. Enjoyment. Enjoyment. Chilling. Everybody wants to chill. Everybody doesn't want any, just leave me alone, let me chill in my corner. Don't want to work too hard. I want to enjoy myself. Enjoyment is what controls us. What we want to do is controlled by what we want to enjoy. Enjoyment is the crux and the spinal cord of the human being. It's also the crux and spinal cord of the neshama. You have a choice. Your enjoyment could be in the world of schmutz, and your enjoyment could be the world of ruchnius. How do I measure it? How do I measure it? So the Rebbeinu Shalom decided, and he told Avraham Avinu, I want to give you one mitzvah. This mitzvah is a covenant between me and you, and we're making a peace treaty. I'll do anything for you, says the Rebbeinu Shalom. I'll give you godly powers. I will make you great. I'll give you all the money in the world. I'll give you everything you want. On one condition. You're willing to go the extra mile for me. And that's a normal bris, right? When two people come together and they say, Hariyat Mukudeshesli, and they put the ring on that finger and they say, now you are Mukudeshesli. What does that mean? That means I will go the extra mile for you. When does a real true love show? Not in the mundane things of day in, day out, in a marriage. It's when the husband goes the extra mile for the wife, and the wife goes the extra mile for the husband. That's when the relationship really bonds and become one. The Rebbeinu Shalom made a relationship with us. And he started off with a bris milah. And I always ask the question, why bris milah? You know, when an eved sells himself for 6 years, and on the 7th year he goes out free. So the halacha is, what happens if he turns around and says, no, I want to stay on? So they take him to the door corner and they pierce his ears. Why did the Rebbeinu Shalom not do the same thing? You want to make a covenant with us? Pierce our ears. Cut off the tip of our nose to make sure that we don't look Jewish. Why dafka do we have a bris milah in the Eva that we have it on? Why dafka there? And the Ramban says that the Ribono Shel Olam dafka went ahead and made a covenant because I'm making it on the Eva, on the limb that causes the most confusion in a person's life. That you all agree with. That the biggest confusion in your life is caused by not keeping Shmiras HaBris. The biggest confusion in our life is caused by our wants and lusts and ties. And the Ribono Shel Olam came along and said, no, I want you to make a sign and understand that you're making a covenant with me, and it's like putting a ring on a girl's hand and saying, Harav Mukudeshes Li. You're going to control yourself from now on, because that's part of the relationship. When the Ribono Shel Olam said, what does it mean, Shmiras HaBris? A bris is not a one-time story when you're 8 years old, you cut off the orla, and that's it, over. It's an ois bris kodesh. It's a sign that we have to be shomer for the rest of our lives. Because it's telling us we're here to control our tithes. We're here to control, because that's our relationship with the Ribono Shel Olam. Because the Ribono Shel Olam says, my relationship, you want to measure how my relationship is with you? Let's see how much you're on control of your Shmiras HaBris. And that's where it starts and finishes. I'll give you a moshel. If you're married and you buy your next door neighbor's wife a birthday present, your wife might be upset with it. She'll get over it. She'll get over it. The Ribono Shel Olam says, you know, I'm not giving you a heta for it. If you speak a Lashon Hara, or you come late to davening, or you miss a Zman Krishma, you've got 70, 80 years, I'll give you time to do tshuva. But if you sleep with your next door neighbor's wife, it's all over. Says the Ribono Shel Olam, if you're a shomer bris, then you're in the marriage. If you're not a shomer bris, you're not in control, then we don't have a relationship. You might be doing the same acts, we might be living in the same house. You might even be bringing me flowers on Friday as a marriage. You might even help me wash up the dishes. But if you're sleeping with the next door neighbor's wife, we have no marriage. There's no relationship here. Says the Ribono Shel Olam, you want to know what the spinal cord that holds Klal Yisrael together? That's Kedusha, holiness. And I'll give you a mashal. Al-Sheikh says a beautiful mashal of a king who used to lie in bed, and like most rich people were depressed because they couldn't face the day, because they had too much money and they didn't know what to do with it. And there's this pauper sitting outside the palace playing the violin. And he played a beautiful violin, and the king used to wake up to the music and used to put him in a good mood. One day they came in and told the king that this pauper outside stole. In those days, if you stole, you cut off your hand. The king says, no. I need his music. His music is so beautiful that I'm willing to overlook the Geneva, keep his hand on. Okay. A month later, they come into the king, and you know this pauper that makes you into a good mood, sings beautifully, plays beautifully the violin. He got into a fight in the bar, and he smashed a guy over the head with a beer bottle. Sounds familiar? And the guy dropped dead. And the king said, you have to kill him? The king says, no. I'm willing to overlook it. The music is so beautiful to my ears. Let's look it over. A month later, the Yalchik goes to the bar and he has a fight, and he loses one finger. One finger he loses. And they come into the king, they tell him the story, and they say he lost his finger That one finger, he can't play the violin anymore. And the king says, kill him for everything. Music to the Ribono Shel Olam is holiness. That's the spinal cord to our relationship with the Ribono Shel Olam. When the Ribono Shel Olam decided to give Torah, so Moshe Rabbeinu went up to the Ribono Shel Olam and said to the Ribono Shel Olam, what message do I give as a to Klal Yisrael as a preparation? And the Ribono Shel Olam said, "V'atem tiyu mamlechas kohanim." Be a princely nation. Princely nation means we're different. We're different. We walk different in the street. We behave differently in the street. We eat differently. Our language is different. The way we dress, we're different. That's a princely nation. The Goy Kodesh, and a holy nation. And Rashi says, "Lo tochus v'lo yesha." No more, no less. You don't have to say anything more. That is the relationship. If we're on the same page, we're singing the same song, I'm willing to overlook a lot of other things. As long as you're singing the song with me. And the song of the Ribono Shel Olam is Kedusha. And the Satan knows that. And the Satan can turn around and tell you, sit and learn. Daven. Do as many mitzvahs as you want. You might be living in the same house with God. You might be washing up his dishes. But there's no relationship. Because you can't have a relationship with the Ribono Shel Olam when you're sleeping with somebody else's wife. Kedusha means I control my lust. Shmiras Habris means that I'm in control and I'm focused. Where does my taiva go? Do I want to enjoy life as an enjoyment for my body? Or do I want to enjoy life as a relationship with Ribono Shel Olam? Le'is'aneg al Hashem, as the Mesilas Yesharim says. Where do I know? What's the measuring rod of in my relationship with God? Bris Kodesh. Lot sitting with Avraham Avinu, who's doing everything right. But his focus was on money, and he was willing to give up and live between the biggest Rishoyim. Get affected. His mishpacha was affected by it. And he was willing to give up everything because he wanted this beautiful house and this beautiful green backyard. Says the Ribono Shel Olam, says Rashi, when Lot made that move, he made a statement. I don't want to stay in the relationship. He still was Moshe Nefesh when the Malachim came to stay. He was Moshe Nefesh. He brought them into his house, and they all came banging on the door, and he was Moshe Nefesh to give them matzahs, and Lot was a tzaddik. But he wasn't in the relationship. We're here in this world to get into a relationship with the Ribono Shel Olam. Our relationship depends on how and where does our enjoyment lie. And here you're going to ask me a great question. How do I control it? You know, this question was asked by the Orach Chaim HaKadosh. You've got to listen to this question. The Orach Chaim HaKadosh says, he asked a question that's probably going through every guy's mind here tonight. You know, you take a kid that's brought up in a Chod Rashbam, in a Khan Kanievsky's house, take a kid that's brought up in Meishar and doesn't know his head from his toe. Right? He doesn't even have a kosher phone. Right? And you put him in the same darga as where we're coming from. So I can understand, you get a mitzvah called, don't lie. You get a mitzvah, don't steal. So morally, we can be under the same umbrella as the guy that's brought up in Bnei Barak, who doesn't know his head from his toe, to the guy that's brought up in Vegas. It's morally understood. Everybody understands it. Most of the world understands it. But if you take a mitzvah called don't go after what your eyes see, and what your heart wants. How can you put that, all of us, under the same umbrella? It's not fair. Because the kid in Bnei Brak knows nothing. Knows nothing. He's brought up in his daladamas, closed, only Kedusha v'Tahara, only Torah. I'm brought up, when I was bar mitzvah, my uncle didn't buy me a chumish or mishnais or shas. He bought me the latest model iPhone with every app that I can get hold of. So of course, by the time I'm 15, I'm a porn addict. We were brought up with all the schmutz given to us, handed to us since we're 10 years old, 9 years old. We've seen it, we've done it, we've watched it. How is it possible, human nature, that we can start controlling ourselves? And the Orach Chaim HaKodesh says it's not fair. How can you put everybody, all Klal Yisrael, under one umbrella of the 630 mitzvahs? Some of them make sense. Yeah, every kid understands. We don't lie. Every kid understands. It's not better to steal. That I can understand. Oh, but Kedusha and Tahara, when it was pushed in our face at such a young age. And most of us have been jerking off since we're 12, 11, 10, 9, who knows when. Breakfast, supper, and lunch. And you want to know how we're going to suddenly stop? How we're suddenly going to change overnight? How we're suddenly going to give it up? And Orach Chaim says it's not fair. And Orach Chaim says there's only one answer. He says, you're right. In the regular human nature, a goy doesn't have the stamina, doesn't have the koiches, doesn't have the strength in him to control himself. And even those who go to the 12 steps, and they go to their AAs and their essays and the what's it called, and all these AA groups, 10 years later they're still on the verge, and they have to go to meetings every week. Because if they don't go to a meeting, within a week, they're back to square one. What happened? A Jew's not like that. Why is it different? Because a Yid has a neshama. He's connected to God. And the Rebbeinu Shloim says, if you're willing, Ki ani Hashem Elokeichem, I'm your God. And I became your God by Bris Milah. And if you want to control yourself and you want to have a relationship with me, the minute you decide to have a relationship with me, you will get godly powers to overcome your animalistic instincts. Orach Chaim says that. In a normal person, it won't work. Seen it, done it, you're not stopping. And even if you stop, you're always on the verge of falling over if you don't have a good sponsor. 10 years later, you can speak to somebody who's been in alcohol for 24 years, 25 years, and he can fall in a minute. Why? 10 years later, what happened? Because he's a goy, and he's always on the verge of doing it. Because he's been there, done it, you'll never get back. A Yid, when he's in a relationship with the Rebbeinu Shloim says, Ani Hashem Elokeichem, I'm your God. You've got godly powers. You've got a neshama. You want to have a relationship with me? If you want to have a relationship with me, I will give you the powers that you'll overcome all the animalistic instincts. Because Klal Yisrael have godly powers above nature. We're above nature. We also are above mazel. You know what mazel stands for? Moitzi Zerah Lebachol. Hakoil toli b'mazel. Everything's toli depends on mazel. Because that's our relationship with God. And the Rebbeinu Shloim says, you're in a marriage, the marriage is going to be holy. Harav just me and you. If you start looking out and you start wanting enjoyment outside the marriage is over. You can live in the same house. You can carry on washing up the dishes. You can do your mitzvahs, but you're not in a relationship with me. You want godly powers. You want to change? When someone says start, you want to be in a relationship, start with Kedusha. Because if you want it, you'll get it. And you'll get godly powers above what we normally think. You'll suddenly be able to do 40 days, no problem. You'll carry on to go to 100 days. Why? That's godly powers. Go over to a goy in the street and tell him, I'll give you $100, $200 to do 40 days. Oh, what are you, nuts? I couldn't do it for $1,000 or $10,000. What happened? I decided to get serious in my relationship with the Rebbeinu Shalom. The Rebbeinu Shalom gives me the koyach to overcome my regular instincts. And the more and the deeper it goes, and the more I move away, and the more I'm focused to my enjoyment in the Beis HaMedrash, to my enjoyment in the marriage, where my enjoyment moves over, the stronger the relationship is. The clearer I have a picture. The clarity of mind. I'll tell you a story. There was a boy that came to Yeshiva once. It's going back 20 years ago, 15 years ago. This is a kid that went around the block. And when I say around the block, he did the block properly. Right? And he walks into me. We used to have Tuesday night in my house, cholent and beer. Ask the rabbi. Any question. Anyway, at the end of the conversation, I said, okay, I want you doing 40 days. 40 days? I can't do 40 days. What are you, crazy, Rabbi? Breakfast, supper, and lunch. I didn't even know it was awesome until I came to this place. Okay, I told him, drink and have another bottle, and then we'll talk later. Okay, we shook hands at the end of the evening, and he's doing 40 days. I'm meeting by 37 days. I said to him, no, how do you feel? He said, I want to tell you something, Rabbi. I had a very interesting insight. I don't know what the word Kedusha means. I don't know what it stands for. Holiness. What does holiness mean? I don't know what it means. But I will tell you my insight to what holiness means. He says, if you would ask me today that when I daven to the Rebbeinu Shalom, do I feel a connection, which I never had? I feel a connection. If you ask me, do I have a clarity of mind today that I never had in my life? And that's not because he stopped smoking up. Do I have a clarity in my mind? He says, I have a klokheit, and I see things totally different. He says, when I learn Gemara, I feel connected. He said, then I understand what Kedusha is. This is a kid off the street. On the 37th day, has this hargosha of what Kedusha means. This is just the beginning of the relationship. This is just the tip of the mountain. Do you understand how deep that relationship goes when we move away, as we move away from the porn and from the TikTok and from the Netflix, and move away from all the schmutz, and we keep going 100 days, 200 days, and you suddenly look at yourself, wow, I'm in a relationship with the Rebbeinu Shalom. I never had such a feeling of accomplishment in my life. Because depression, which is America's greatest machala, 50% of Americans today are either going for therapy, or should be in therapy, or taking pills for antidepressants. What's so terrible about America? America's a land flowing with honey, like they said by Yisrael. World of opportunities. You can get anything you want. All your dreams. And yet nobody's happy. Why are we having midlife crisis? Because we're not happy. It doesn't give us satisfaction. It doesn't do it for us. Because the relationship that we're supposed to have, the marriage that we're in, is not happening. We were forced into this marriage, if you want to talk like that, on the 8th day. No walking back. We had a bris milah. We went into a marriage. We're stuck in the marriage. There's no divorce papers. It doesn't work. There's no divorce papers. We're in a marriage. You can be You can have a great marriage, or you can have a survival marriage. You're surviving, no relationship. You want a relationship where the Rebbeinu Shalom says, I will give you godly powers. I will help you. I will do everything that you need in order to make it. That's when the relationship is strong. What relationship is Klal Yisrael with the Rebbeinu Shalom? What music does he want to hear? He wants to hear Kedusha. Says Rabbeinu Yonah, Nefesh HaRosha means you can be doing Torah mitzvahs. You can be doing everything right. You can be washing the dishes, making spongia, buying her flowers on Friday, but you're still not in a relationship. Nefesh HaRosha. What does Rosha mean? Rosha and Tzaddik means where my lust lies. Where's my tainuk? Where do I really want to enjoy myself? And where is it measured? In my shmiras habris. How much am I in control of myself? You want to measure how much you're in a relationship? That's all. Check it out. How much are you in control? Yitzias Mitzrayim. How would you say it in English? The negative, how would you say it in English? The blueprint. Yitzias Mitzrayim was the blueprint of all other Goliaths going out of Goliaths. Of going out of Goliaths. We're in Goliaths today. The same way as in Mitzrayim. 4/5 didn't make it. Do you know that? Right? How many people went out of Mitzrayim? 600,000. How many people died in Cheshach? Anybody know? 80%. How many people? Between 2 million and 6. Right? In 3 days, there wasn't a guy walking out of Mitzrayim that wasn't saying Kaddish. Make the cheshbon. Biggest Holocaust that ever happened. What did they do wrong? Can you tell me what they did wrong?
They didn't say tshuva.
They did tshuva. And I'll tell you even more. They came to Kriyas Yamsuf, and the Sultan comes along and says, Halolo if they Avodah Zarah, these are serving Avodah Zarah, and these are serving Avodah Zarah. Who's better? Right? Why is Klal Yisrael being saved? They were serving Avodah Zarah, they're also serving Avodah Zarah. So if the 1/5 that came out were not grace of Tzaddikim, why did the 4/5 drop dead? One reason. They weren't willing to go the extra mile for the Rebbeinu Shalom. Rebbeinu Shalom said, we're going out to the Midbar. And they said, no. Let Mashiach come after Pesach. Let Mashiach come after vacation. We're not moving so fast. In the last 12 months, we made a lot of money. We sold water during dams. We made millions. Right? In Corona, we sold masks. We made millions. Right? We did this. So they made money. They had everything. They walked into Choshech. They knew exactly where everything is. Comfortable life. We should go to the Midbar? No. 1/5 said, we're going to go the extra mile for that relationship. We rely on the Rebbeinu Shalom. They came out. That blueprint stays till today. In Svarim is written that when Mashiach comes, it's going to be the same way. V'sechazeno einenu v'shuvcha l'tzion b'rachamim. We look forward that our eyes should see the coming of the rebuilding of the Beis Hamikdash. My Zayda used to say, coming, he's going to come for sure. The shaila is if our eyes are going to be zeicher to see it. Not everybody's eyes are zeicher to see Mashiach coming. Because you've got to have special eyes for that. You've got to have eyes that were willing to give up for a relationship with the Rebbeinu Shalom. You've got to have eyes that were moiser nefesh, not to look in the wrong places. Ki ayin ba'ayin yiru b'shuv Hashem esiyon. Eye for eye. That's who we'll see when Mashiach comes. V'hoyo hanisha b'tzion, says the pasuk. Those who are left over in Yerushalayim, Kodesh Yom Eloi. Those are going to be the Kedoshim. There's going to be a lot of nisyonos before Mashiach comes. And we're going through it. You want to know why your generation is going to bring Mashiach? Because you guys, by the Rebbeinu Shalom, are worth millions. It's where you're coming from. The nisyonos, the tests that you go through. The garbage that you've seen and the garbage that you're going through. And your Rebbeinu Shalom sees a whole chabura come together and are willing to go the extra mile to have that relationship that's worth millions to the Rebbeinu Shalom. Somebody once said, you know who's going to bring Mashiach? The guy with the baseball cap. Not the Gedolim. Not the Gedolim. The right way around. Not the Gedolim. Not the Gedolim. Who's going to bring Mashiach? You guys. You guys are going to bring Mashiach because you guys are in the dirt. You guys are pulling yourself out of the dirt. You guys want that relationship. You guys are fighting for survival, fighting to keep this marriage intact. Do you know how much it's worth? Do you know how much the Rebbeinu Shalom looks down on us, in these guys in this room, and say, Mi ka'amcha Yisrael, who is like Klal Yisrael? Look where they're coming from. Look what they're willing to give up. These are the guys I'm going to make sure that they see Mashiach. These are the guys I'm going to give them the extra strength to have a relationship with me that when they wake up in the morning, they're waking up with a smile. How many people can count on one hand how many days during the year they woke up and they felt good with themselves? I'll make them feel good because they're out to give, because they're out to fight for a relationship with the Rebbeinu Shalom. The Rebbeinu Shalom should give you all the koiches and the stubbornness, keeping the relationship. Keep the relationships getting stronger. You will see siyata d'shmaya above nature. You will see siyata d'shmaya that you never believed. You will suddenly come out of the depressions and of the inferiority complexes that we're all walking around with. You'll suddenly see a different world. You'll suddenly wake up with a smile on your head, on your face. You'll suddenly realize it's not about what looks good. It goes a lot deeper. The Rebbeinu Shalom should give us the koiches that when the Mashiach Taka comes, we should be zeicher to see the emes of Mashiach in Harav.